I started to East Avenue as a baby. My mother, and before then, I'm sure, my mother took us to church, and my dad was not a Christian yet, and he was saved at 55 years old at East Avenue, but his mother had always taught him if he was good, that was good enough, and so he had not accepted Christ. But so all of my life, 75 years, I guess you'd say, I've been connected with East Avenue and National High. I can remember an elderly Sunday school teacher, Mrs. Bass, when I was 12 years old. She said to us that she did not want anyone leaving her class without accepting Christ as their Savior. I happened to be saved when I went into her class already, but I'm sure there were others that were saved because of her efforts. And so she meant an awful lot to me. When I was a youth at East Avenue, youth directors were unheard of, and so we had a dear lady, Esther Mayla June, who led in our Sunday school department. And she, more or less, she had 2 teenagers of her own, and she adopted all of us. And she would have us in her home at times where we could just have snacks and have fun together. And so we bonded as a youth group because of her efforts. One lady that meant a lot to me was Marguerite Rothermel. She was WMU director, and she had a lot of helpers. When we were married, my mother had no experience in giving a wedding reception in the church, and so Marguerite Rothermel said, "Don't worry, WMU ladies will do this." And the WMU ladies, they had a group that they called the Chore Girls. They would go in and just help people out and do things in their homes. And so we have a servant ministry today, but they had the Chore Girls. They baked the cake, and I had the reception, and my mother was so thankful. East Avenue started a mission across from Grandview Golf Course, and Grandview School was there, and the deacons had decided to call a young preacher from Hamlin who was just starting to preach at that time, and so Bruce McNeely was called to preach at Grandview Mission. And at that time, the pastor was Dr. Eugene Grubbs. And I can't tell you enough about what he and his wife have meant to Bruce and I during that time, and the example that he set before us. What I just want to say is this church has really meant so much to me, and now I come to church and I just feel God's Spirit, and I know it's because of the people and the leadership today that the church is in good shape. And all churches aren't there, but I feel like National Heights is being the same church that I grew up in so many years ago.